We are pleased to have Dr. Jane Irungu, the Executive Director of the Southwest Center for Human Relations Studies and Associate Provost for Inclusive Faculty Excellence at the University of Oklahoma. And Dr. Jane will get started with us in just a minute. I want to update you on a couple sessions coming in the future. Our next session after today will be Wednesday, November 4th. They're always Wednesdays. They're always at 12 noon. And on that day, we'll have Suzanne Schaefer, who's an instructional designer, resilience and mindfulness expert from Penn State, York. And Suzanne will be speaking with us about utilizing self-care strategies, mindfulness, and dealing with toxic stress. Sounds like another great presentation. So please do plan on joining us for that. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Margaret Mabindio, who is the designer of our program and whose efforts have led to all of these wonderful series that you're getting to see. Margaret.
Thank you, Anne. So good afternoon, students, ladies and gentlemen. As you have heard, my name is Dr. Margaret Mabindio. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Academic Advisement and Student Development. And I also serve as the coordinator for advisement in the College of Arts and Humanities and College of Business. I have the honor of introducing our speaker today, Dr. Jane Irungu. She is coming to us all the way from University of Oklahoma in Norman, Oklahoma, where she serves in multiple roles as the Executive Director of the Southwest Center for Human Relations Studies and Associate Provost for Inclusive Faculty Excellence. As the Executive Director of the Southwest Center for Human Relations Studies, she provides strategic leadership and supervision for center programs and initiatives whose mission is to advance professional learning, training, research, and knowledge to disseminate on issues related to race, diversity, equity, inclusion, advocacy, and many other things related to faculty excellence. In a role as Associate Provost for Faculty Excellence, she coordinates education and training for inclusive excellence in academic initiatives, including instruction, including faculty-student relationships. And she partners with campus stakeholders on programs that promote faculty development. Dr. Irungu has more than 3 decades of experience in the field of education, organizational management, and intercultural relations. She has worked extensively with K-12 higher education and other related private and public education. And she herself being a first-generation student, she understands what academic resilience is all about. And we are so privileged because we are going to hear a story and we are going to be motivated, we are going to be encouraged, and I don't think we are going to leave this space the same. Welcome, Dr. Irungu. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Margaret. I appreciate the invite. And I'll start, I do have a PowerPoint here to guide my thoughts and to guide my conversation with you all. I really am very excited talking about because education for me is really transformation. When we talk about education, especially education for students, we know that we are not only transforming lives, we are transforming our communities. So I do want to share my screen. Okay. Give me 1 minute here. And I will share my PowerPoint. So when I was invited to share about academic resiliency, I thought this is a very interesting concept. And I went onto your website to check about this. And this is I found academic resilience is defined as the ability to effectively deal with setback, stress, or pressure in the academic setting. And then I went further to think about what does that really mean in real life? So I found some words, and there were several of them, but I picked a few. It means toughness. It means flexibility. It means responsiveness. It means strength of character. It means durability. It also means moral strength, ability to adapt, coping capacities, impact resistance. So you can see those words. They are really words and sentences that are talking about that despite what comes to you or at you or is within you or around you, you are able to thrive. You can see the flower to your right. I think it's covered by some of, let's see whether I can uncover that. You see that flower, it's in the concrete, but it's still blooming. That is resilience. That is resilience. So I want to talk about my story because I think this provides context for who I am, but also will give you some kind of understanding why resilience is very important to me. I'm from Africa. I am from Kenya. You see that arrow right there. Kenya is a relatively small country, 45 million people. But we are in a very big continent. Every time I mention Africa, I want to situate Africa in its magnitude because I don't want anybody telling me Kenya is a country or Africa is a country. Africa is a continent. It's 3 times as large as the United States. United States is only 1/3 of Africa. But that being said, obviously most of Africa is developing. And for some of us to be where we are, it requires a resiliency. So I'm a village girl. I come from the farm. Everything I have captured there is from my village. My mother's avocados, bananas, bees, collard greens, cows. In the village, we are sharing the road with the cows. I mean, we are used to that. I come from a community where, up there I'm dressed as a Maasai because where my family moved to is Maasai land. And most of these communities are very native communities that haven't changed in years. So that is my story of I'm a village girl where modern conveniences growing up were really not available, and learning was quite interesting. But I want to say that my story is not the only unique story. Each of you has a unique story. You may not be from the village, but you may be from maybe rural Pennsylvania or in the city of Philadelphia, or, you may be from wherever. That is your story. That is who you are. You are not Jenny Rongo, but you're somebody else. So, and I like this quote from the College Board, that each student has a unique story, a compelling story, and mirrored motivations for wanting to earn a college degree. So all of us have good reasons for wanting that college degree. But the route to a college degree is often complex and indirect. So it is not life as a straight line in the college streets. Students are on a complex, sometimes convoluted pathway with many diversions, dropout routes, pit stops, and exits. So there are many reasons for you to want the degree, but there are also many reasons for you to want to drop out and say, you know what, I'm done. I don't want this degree, I'm out. So that is sometimes where we find ourselves as students. Faculty finds their students at, advisors find their students at, because we all have many stories. We all come from different places. And Chimamanda, I think, has always said this very well, that Nobody has a single story. All of us are a compilation of many stories. So I want to talk a little bit more about my story so that you can see that resiliency was part of what built who I am today. In my own estimation, I think I'm successful. And part of that success, it is the resiliency. When I started, for me, education was a matter of self-motivation. I had to self-motivate. I come from a family of 12 children. I'm the oldest of 12. Yes, same mother, same father. May my dad rest in peace, but my mom is still alive. I was very self-motivated because I saw education as the way out of the village, the way out of me working every single day in the farm, the way out of going to the river to fetch water, the way out of carrying wood on my back every single day. I saw the teachers who are teaching us, they ate well, they dressed well, they had comfortable beds. And I desired to be that. I knew that unless I have a good education, and my parents, especially my dad, was very keen. If you do not go to school and do well, you may as well not come out of this situation, because my father didn't have a lot of money. He worked for the government of Kenya, and that was like 600 shillings a month, pretty much $6 a month. And you have 12 kids, what do you do with $6? So everybody had to figure out how to get themselves out. So my family was there. They motivated me, and I self-motivated myself to get out. And so did all my other siblings. But also the broader community, my extended family was very keen on me being successful, because as the firstborn of a large number of cousins, a large number of extended family, my grandfather had 4 wives, so I had lots of step uncles. We don't call them step in Africa. We just call them, your uncles or your other moms or your other grandmas. So I had a large extended family, and they all wanted to do us to do well. What I did not have as a first generation student, meaning, I was the first to go to college, was cultural capital. I really did not understand the landscape of college. I did not. It was, you do the exams, finish 6 years of high school those days, and then if you do well, you go to whatever college they send you. I wanted to be a teacher, so they sent me to Kenyatta College, which was part of the University of Nairobi. We only had one university in Kenya those days. Now we have several. But although the government sent me there, I did not really understand the landscape. You see, nobody had ever gone to college in my community, not my mom. My dad had some college, but not the university. So I also did not have the social capital. We were not a family that had a lot of means. So we did not interact with quote unquote people of means or people who are known. So literally, let me say that the government of Kenya those days was kind enough to send all of us who did well in high school to college free. I went to college free. I was provided with the tuition, with the room and board and the books. They even give us a little bit of what we call, pocket money or spending money here. And that is why I put those 2 asterisks, because I cannot say I struggled in college because of money, because the government took care of it. I did not have my own money. That is why I put it in this category. Most of you may be struggling with the same. I did not have a success team. The government did not, the institution did not have the model of academic advising and coaching that we have now, or we have in the US. So literally it was just a blind person or somebody who is hard of seeing or hearing, trying to find their way. It was hard. But that being said, I was able to move from elementary school. I was able to go to this college, high school for 6 years then. And I was able to finish my first degree, Bachelor's of Education in secondary teaching. So I did do professional teaching as a teacher. I had 3 majors: Swahili, philosophy, and religious education. So I taught since 1986 when I completed my first degree to mid-97. And mid-97, migrated here to the US. And I've been in higher education since then. When I came to the US, I was able to do my grad school, my master's and my PhD, but I focused in higher education. What I want to say is there are many barriers to that kind of success. I remember when I migrated in 97, I had 2 young children. And it was culture shock. It was not knowing what to feed the children. It was not knowing how to drive on my left side, the right side. It was not knowing some of the vocabularies that are being used in the classroom. People are laughing and I'm just looking around, why are people laughing? I mean, not understanding the culture here, not having my family around. My husband was here, yes, but he was an international student as well. And I was an international student, not having enough money. So what I would do is I would take the girls to the library. I would lay a blanket under the table and they would just do their doodling there and I would study. I mean, there were so many hurdles. We were not allowed to work full-time out of the college, so money was tight. Eventually I did finish, but it wasn't easy. You're dealing with money, you're raising a family, you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a full-time student, you're this, you're that. Those are barriers, but I was determined. I said, I am not going to be in this country and not achieve what brought me here, because I would have as well stayed in Africa. I was a teacher. I was a high school principal by the time I migrated. So I thought, you know what? I have some goals set and I'm going to get those goals no matter what. So I want us to think about ourselves. Think about you. For me, it was that self-awareness that I needed to have a good education, that I needed to have a degree. And when I came to the US, that no matter the lack of cultural knowledge, no matter the cultural shock, no matter people questioning my English skills, I was set on my goals. So I was very self-aware of what I wanted, who I was, and what I wanted. And I am wanting you to reflect on that same thing, because resiliency will not come unless you really reflect on who you are. Who am I? You know, these are rhetorical questions. You don't have to respond to any of them, but respond to yourself. Who am I? Like, why am I here? Why am I at Millersville? Why am I spending all this money to be here? You know, what is my ultimate destination? What is the outcome that sums up my reason for being here? If you really do not know where you're going, then you're gonna be playing hide and seek. You're gonna be, it's a chess game for you. You are here, you're there, you are here, you're there. You really have to understand who you are, what you wanna achieve. And then you have to ask yourself, what do I need to get to my destination? I knew what I wanted, and along the way, I knew sometimes how to get to my destination. When I came to the US, I knew I needed money big time. I mean, the $4.75 I was earning, sometimes we couldn't even make the rent. But I was determined that I'm gonna look for scholarships for my graduate school. And I was hired as a GA, a graduate teaching assistant. And that is how I funded my graduate education, at least for the master's. And then for the PhD, I got a full-time job at the University of Kansas. So I was working full-time, but also going to school full-time. And I tell people, even as an international student, I did not graduate with any kind of debt. And later on, even as I became a resident, I did not take up any loans because I knew how to figure out where the help is. And I want you to start thinking about that. I know where I'm going. How am I going to get there? What are some of the things I need to work on? So I'm saying there are a lot of barriers along the way. You're a first gen student like I was. You are short on money, and we're gonna look at some of those barriers. But we really have to think about how are we going to mitigate those barriers. So don't think it's gonna be smooth. It's never ever gonna be smooth. But you know what? You can receive the support that you need. First by taking personal responsibility for your own journey and then pulling others around you. I want us to think about, and I'll give you the link to this. I just chose some of the key areas or the key barriers that I have noticed, in higher education. I used to be a director of an academics advising center at the University of Oregon. We called it the Center for Multicultural Academic Success. And I identified some of these as some of the barriers I could see my students having to work through. Sometimes it's just academic preparation. They'll come in and sometimes they are not well prepared, or sometimes they are well prepared, but the coursework sometimes is hard. So the GPA is low, the test scores are low, and that is a barrier for the next step. Sometimes it's the poor integration, social integration. You come from a village like myself, or you come from an area that is not high traffic, you feel isolated. If you're a student of color, you're maybe in a predominantly white campus, you feel lonely. You feel like there's no community there. You lack that family social support that I enjoyed and others have enjoyed. There's discrimination and stereotype threats everywhere. And we know this. We have lived the last few months dealing with all these issues and having to think about who are we, especially even for Black folks. Black Lives Matter, having to explain that. You feel like you're not part of the community. And sometimes it's the institution, not providing a holistic advising or coaching. Coaching is part of giving student agency to know that they can do things. Advising sometimes is just, let's help you select the coursework. But are we coaching the students? Sometimes there is not good infrastructure for that. Sometimes you don't have the grants or the scholarship. And sometimes the student-faculty interaction is poor or is not there at all. Or as the student, you're not taking advantage of, let's say, the office hours, or the faculty are not providing opportunities to interact with the students. All these are barriers. And of course, lack of personal motivation. Success is also about you as the student, and you taking responsibility for your own success. Sometimes if you don't self-motivate, you have poor study skills, you're overwhelmed, not by your own choice, by work. You may have to work full-time to cater for yourself and sometimes your family. Lack of social capital, which I've mentioned, finances, issues with time management, because if you're working 3 jobs, then it's very hard to manage the time. So all these are barriers to success and to resilience. You want to be resilient, you want to be successful, you want to build the muscle, but then there are all these barriers along the way. I want us to take a minute. I want you to go to menti.com. If you have your phone with you, and I know students, you carry your phones. If you didn't, that's fine. We are going to look at this at the end of the broadcast. Menti.com, and you can use that code and let us know, what is your greatest barrier? What do you perceive to be your greatest barrier? Is it poor academic performance? Is it poor social integration? Is it lack of institutional supports? Is it lack of personal motivation or poor study skills? And these are not the only barriers, but I have over the years noticed that these are really high. So I'll give you a minute to write that code and we'll check the results later. Hopefully it works. Never know with technology. So menti.com, use the code 9863021. So I use this graphic to tell you that it is not going to be a smooth catwalk, but also you see that there is a possibility that if you use some strategies, it is possible to jump those hoops and to break through that wall. People always ask me, like, how did you do it? How did you do a doctorate degree when you are raising? By the time I started my doctorate, my third born, who was born here in the US, was about 2 years old, I believe. So now I ended up having 3 kids and a full-time job and everything else. And from that time, I think I had very little sleep. Because the girls are going to school, I have a baby, I have to figure out childcare. I mean, if I had not had the muscle of mind and heart, and God is good health, I would not have made it, because all those bricks were there, but I had to figure a way to walk through the wall. You have to figure out a way to walk through the wall and break that barrier. You have to envision success. I envision success. When I had my first degree, my whole village came for graduation. I think Margaret probably knows this, that people park in those buses and drive all the way to the city, and they are coming to congratulate you. So we loaded people in buses. Some of them, you don't even know them. They are just coming to see how our daughter is graduating. Most communities in Africa are very community oriented, and one person's success is everyone's success. And being a woman in those days, women were not supposed to be the first ones to go to school. It is always the boys who go first. But my dad has 6 girls before we had any boy in the family. So my brother is the 6th born. So my dad said, you know what, they will have to go to school. So people had to come to see a woman wearing a cap and gown. And I envisioned that. And I saw the light at the end of the tunnel. I worked towards that end result. I nurtured the vision. And just like that student on that right-hand corner at the bottom, I did it. You can do it. You can do it. And you can't do it alone. It is going to be a village. We are going to raise you as within the village. So what do you need to do? First and foremost, this may look like it's not academic, but really it is a starting point to building self-awareness. You really have to believe in yourself. For some of us who are foreigners, English is not our first language. It's not even the second language. English is the third language. My tribal language is Kikuyu, and then our lingua franca is Swahili, and then everybody goes to school and starts learning English. I wrote my whole dissertation, I tell people, in English, and you know what? English is a foreign language to me. I have been learning this language for the last half a century. I mean, I'm almost 60, so I've been learning this language for a long time. But if I had given up, I would never have been able to settle in the US and go into classes where everything is in English or write my dissertation. When I came to graduate school in the US, I was very self-aware that I'm behind in some areas. I had never, ever used a computer, because those days in Africa in the 80s, even universities didn't have computers. So I didn't know how to type. So I enrolled in evening classes to be able to type my papers for my master's classes. And I also enrolled in some computer classes. I did not even know how to check email. Yes, email. I thought it was magic, checking email. And I was a grad student. But I was so determined that I took every computer class at the University of Kansas that was offered for free. And you know what? Today, I'm a tech nerd. I can create a website maybe with eyes closed. I don't know what is there in technology that is new to me. I'm not a technology specialist, but I'm very good in technology because I invested time when I knew I'm behind. There was this young woman, she was an African-American woman who was my friend. She helped me even figure out how to attach a picture on a Word document. I still remember her, Alicia. And then there was this Asian lady, Nguyen, Emma. She helped me sometimes to translate the jokes that the professor was talking about. But you know what? I was determined. I was self-aware. Those are things I need to work on. So do I know why I'm here and what I want to achieve? That is to you. Do you know why you are at that university and what you want to achieve? Do you know how to get the help that you need? I built people around me and I looked at my glass as half full. One time I remember my professor in higher education administration, Dr. Susan Twombly, and Susan is still at KU. You can call her and ask, this is a true story. I told her, you know what, why are you giving marks for participation? I cannot talk over all these people. They are gonna first tell me, we can understand you, your accent, whatever. Susan told me, Jane, if you wanna be successful in this class, you have to learn to speak over people, speak. And you know what? At the end of 2 years, I was speaking of all of them. You really have to be self-aware what you're lacking and how to get yourself to the place that you need to be, because you know what? You can. So I want to speak about academic integration. I want you to know, I have done academic advising. I did a lot of academic advising at the University of Oregon, and eventually was the director of the Center of Multicultural Academic Excellence. And advising for me is a must. What I used to do is once we get the students, once we know who we are enrolling, especially for the marginalized communities, I would send them a note before they get on campus and let them know we need to connect them to an academic advisor or a coach to help you select your courses, to help you know where you can get your training for your time management, your study skills, and all that. Please, if you are, especially if you are a first-year student and you do not see your advisor regularly, it is a must. Within the first 2 weeks, you have to see an advisor. That is why they are there. That is why they have been hired, to help you navigate the landscape. I tell students, college is not high school. College is college. And that is why we are very specific about how we support students. Make use of office hour with your professors. Every syllabus has some office hour time. That is not for professors to have a break. That is for professors to connect with you, for them to respond to your questions. And this builds your faculty-student interaction time. The professor gets to know you, you get to know them, and you ask your questions one-on-one. So make use of that time. And if a professor has not provided office hours time, ask them, hey, do you have office hours? Build a success team around you. It's your academic advisor, it's your professor, it's maybe your coach in a different area. It may be a parent or a member of an organization or a family member. You have to have at least 5 people on your success team, because you know what? It's gonna take a village, and those people are your village. So make sure that you're not walking by yourself. Social integration, make sure that you engage in student organizations, excuse me, that you're part of the fabric of the university. These organizations are going to help you grow in different co-curricular activities. This will build your portfolio. This is part of resiliency. They are going to help you cope in many ways. Seek life-work balance. Many college students work these days, but you cannot be working 4 jobs and expect to have a 4.0. We have only 24 hours in a day. So find a way to balance that. Seek support for your wellness. I'm glad that at the beginning of the broadcast, your professor mentioned that you're going to have a webinar on wellness and mindfulness. You really have to take this seriously, especially now with COVID and isolation and everything. Mental health is becoming a big deal. And I don't want anybody feeling like mental health is something you can't talk about. If you don't feel well, you don't feel well. And your advisor can connect you to a mental health professional or to a nurse or to a therapist. Do not feel like that is not part of what you should be doing. You cannot be so macho that you bring yourself down. Part of resiliency is acknowledging what you need, going for it, and building that muscle. Seek career counseling, start early. Don't wait until you're a senior to ask for internships or to ask for what connects with your major. Don't wait for too long, seek those opportunities early. And be connected to family and friends. If you're not connected outside your immediate family, that could be a problem. We know not all families are functional, so it doesn't have to be a family member, but it could be a friend. So be connected outside. It is very important to connect and engage with those people who know you matter, with those people who you are the best thing that ever happened, according to them, because you know what? Those people will cheer you. I want to go back to my family. My parents thought I was the best thing that ever happened to them, me and my siblings. And my dad thought, although we were women and society did not really feel like it was a big deal, a woman who has finished elementary school and high school, what is there to finish after that? Go get married. My grandfather said, go get married, make your dad rich. And my dad said, no. Because you know what? It mattered that I did well. For him, I was a good I had to be a good role model. But also, he wanted me to be successful. So find people who really know that you matter and that they will cheer you on positively, not dragging you down. If they're dragging you down, cut them off. Cut them off. Find a way to rise up when you fall, because you will fall. There are many times you will feel like you don't want to do this. And it's okay to fail. It's okay sometimes to fail, because in that failure, you build resiliency. If you stay in there and find ways to mitigate that, you rise up even stronger. That is resiliency. Ask for support. There is a saying in my tribal language, that nobody will ever put you in jail for just asking a question. It's just a question. Ask for support. Nobody, especially in higher education. I've been in higher education in the US now for almost 23 years, and I know I have not come across any faculty member or a staff member who will not support you. If they don't have, they couldn't, maybe they won't support you the way you want them to support you because they may not have all the answers, but most of them will direct you to the support. Because Tinto is a guru for student involvement. He's been writing this since forever. The stress and sense of loss and bewilderment, if not desolation, that sometimes accompanies the transition to college can pose serious problems for the individual that is attempting to persist in college. Though most students are able to cope with the problems of adjusting to the social and intellectual life, to the college, many find it measurably more difficult. So what are we saying? You have to look for that help. And I know that I have to finish, but I really want to also talk to faculty. You have to be available. You have to address students' concerns. You have to find a way to affirm these students. You have to find a way to make sure that they are heard, that you're providing them with agency. I want to remind faculty and staff that students are going through a lot of trauma. Some of them have gone through generational trauma. Some of them have gone through traumatic incidences. We all have seen what has been happening the last 2 years, and this has happened a lot for some of our communities for a long, long time. So be very mindful when you're dealing with your students. Try strategies that work for diverse students. Try strategies in your classroom that make sure that all students feel heard, they feel welcome, and they feel like, they can succeed. I like this approach, especially when we are doing advising, perspective taking. Always think about what that student is going through and do it with empathy. Acknowledge that, they are feeling something, they're going through something. You want to help them build the muscle, then connect with their circumstances. Don't dismiss them. Do not dismiss their feelings, because their perception is their reality, and you cannot cancel their reality. You can't. So seek to understand them through that lens. And the institution has a huge role to play for success. Make sure that you acknowledge your students irrespective of their identities. Make college affordable. College is expensive. I am, a full-time employee, but I'm still paying student loans for my girls. So imagine what parents have to go through. So give those grants, provide even textbook support. When I was at University of Oregon, I had started a textbook grant because not many students could afford those textbooks. So I would buy the textbooks and then build a library over time, and they could come and borrow them. Offer that transition support for the first year transfer, international, non-trad, returning military, low income, fast gen. Scan the data, know who is on your campus, and then figure out what they need. That is what equity is. Equity is about figuring out what are those gaps and how do we fill those gaps with what people need, not giving everybody the same support, but giving folks the support that they need. I want to remind you, you have to be bold. It's not an easy journey, but yes, you can. You see that flower right there? It's not easy to blossom in the middle of a concrete jungle, but you can. And I want to remind you that you're worthy of success. If somebody looks at me, they would think I've always been successful. No, I haven't. But you see, everybody is worthy of success. Resilience means you experience, you feel, you fail, you hurt, you fall, but you keep going. So you keep going, you matter and you belong. And I wanna stop that share, but I wanna share one more screen here. Let's see whether, if you can see that, wow. Lack of personal motivation and poor social integration are barriers to the students who have attended this webinar. So the good thing is you have identified that, but you see we still have 22% lack of institutional support. And that is for Margaret and others to figure out how can we support these students. And most of your students are doing well, but 11% feel like, they have low GPA. How can we help them improve that GPA? I'm gonna stop there because I realize time is well spent, but I really do want to take any questions if we have any. But thank you so much. I can keep talking. I can keep going because this is very dear to me. But I want to stop because obviously we have only so much time. Thank you so much for inviting me. I feel very honored and very privileged.
Thank you, Dr. Irungu. We actually do have several questions for you in the chat, so I'll go ahead and read the first one. A student wrote, "How do I connect with other students from other racial backgrounds when they are not willing to accept me?
So let me say that sometimes we may feel like others are not willing to accept us because, that's how we feel. But I would always advise for you to join student groups. For me, that is a starting point. Join a student group. And most of these student groups are really not from one ethnic group. They are really, especially if it's about your professional group, it's all round. It's everybody's in there. But also work through your insecurities. Sometimes we feel so insecure. I felt so insecure because when I came to the US, people would say, do you understand English? And heck, I have a master's degree. What are you talking about? I've been teaching for 11 years in my country, and you're asking me whether I understand English. I go to the hospital, they ask me, do you need an interpreter? And I look at the receptionist. Why do you think I need an interpreter? So you really have to let that insecurity go and take yourself into those situations and environments and know that you have something to bring into those groups. Don't get that the deficit model of, I have nothing to bring. You have a lot to bring. So think about yourself, the self-efficacy, the confidence, build that up. And somebody also says, I'm a first generation student. I don't feel I got prepared for college adequately given the school I went to. What do I need to catch up? You already are aware you're not well prepared. So I would like you to connect with your advisor, but also scour that website and see what are the supports. Do we have additional remedial classes you could take? Do you have tutors? What I had done at Oregon, I even had peer tutors. And I would ask students, your scores don't look great. I have a peer tutor here who you can work with consistently. So go and tell the person in your advising circle or even your professor, hey, I don't really feel like I'm getting this. This is a really hard concept for me. Remember asking. Remember, being honest and truthful about your situation allows your advisor or your professor or the staff member to know how to support you. Things will not just come to you. It's very hard for a professor to know everything you're going through. You have to be honest. You really have to be honest and feel okay about asking for that help. Most schools have peer tutors, they have professional tutors, and you will be offered that. And it is okay to receive. Being tutored doesn't mean you're dumb. No, it only means you're so smart that you know the help you need and you're gonna go for it.
Very good. There's one more question. The student writes, I work 2 jobs and I go to school full time. It's hard connecting with professors during office hours, and they insist I have to make use of the office hours. What do I do to make my professor understand I cannot make office hours?
Again, let the professor know. I never made any office hours because I was raising 3 children. And I was thinking about childcare. I'm working full time. For 8 years, I was commuting from Topeka, Kansas to Lawrence, Kansas. I had no time to go and connect with the professor. But you know what? I told my professor, please allow me to communicate via email because after dinner, after the kids are gone to bed, I have a little time to write you the email. So you really have to find ways. And I ask the professors, if we have any here or they will listen to this broadcast, listen to the unique stories of these students and provide the flexibility, because resilience is about also providing flexibility so that the students can be met at their points of need, because not all of us have the same needs. There are many students working 2 jobs, there are others who are not working any job. So let's figure that out and let's support them. How do I get involved with people that don't accept my culture? Let me tell you something. I'm from Africa. There are many people who think that Africa is so behind that we don't even know what we are doing. Let me tell you, we know what we are doing. Accept yourself first. Accept yourself first. Self-identity is that culture that people are not accepting. So that is who you are. Let people know that is who you are, but also let people understand that your culture, in coming to that university and bringing that culture, enriches that environment. And I would want faculty in the institution, college leadership, to make sure that folks are communicating this, that diversity is our strength. Multiple cultures are our strength, not a deficit. I mean, by me speaking those 3 languages and talking about my country, I see people asking me questions. Oh, what about this? What about this? We cannot grade culture. No culture is better than the other culture. Culture is culture. So if you feel you can't accept my culture, that's up to you. But remember that is who I am. You take me or leave me, but that's who I am. But I'm going to tell you why my culture is important to me and what this culture is bringing to this campus. So they may not, it doesn't mean they will like everything. Like when I came to the US, I did not eat pizzas. I wonder, what is this stretchy? What is this about? And I would say, and then mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes in my culture is for babies. I mash those potatoes, I give to the babies. But you know what? Eventually, I thought, oh, great idea. Pizza is great. Now I order 3 meat and I love it.
Dr. Jane Irungu, thank you so much coming to us today from the University of Oklahoma, and such wonderful words of wisdom that you have shared with us faculty and with our students. You are truly a gift to us today, and we are thrilled to have had you. So again, many thanks.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and good luck to all my students. I'll call them my students because they are. Build that muscle, and we wish you all the best in your academic journey. We are here to support you. We are your village. Anne, Margaret, Aubrey, and others, those are part of your success team. And I hope that you will go to them for the support that you need.
Thank you. And just a reminder for our audience, again, our next session will be 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, November 5th. Susan Schaefer, an instructional designer, resilience and mindfulness expert from Penn State, York, talking about utilizing self-care strategies, mindfulness, and dealing with toxic stress. So some other really great topics. Look forward to having all of you back. Feel free and bring a friend. This is free and it's open to anyone on our campus. So thanks to everyone. I'll turn it over to Dr. Margaret Mabinyo, who is our program director for this series. Margaret.
I just have to say thank you so much again for logging in, and I hope that you've been motivated. That was awesome, Dr. Irungu. We completely appreciate you just pouring it all to us and sharing your story. Your resilience story is phenomenal, and we completely appreciate you sharing that with us tonight, this afternoon. This is recorded, and I know it's going to be played over and over again to many other students and by other faculty. So thank you again for being here. We greatly appreciate. Thank you, students, for logging in. Again, as Dr. Han Godino has said, we have more in store for you. Please check in Bill daily and also the emails that come to you inviting you. Thank you again. Have a good afternoon.